Hey there, Jeff with Subframe here. And today I'm going to walk us through designing with stacks. What is a stack? Let's start there. A stack is one of the basic building blocks of the modern web. It is the way that layouts are put together by front-end teams using basically these containers called stacks that have children that you can line up in a certain direction, vertical or horizontal, with equal spacing between those children in an alignment of your choice. So those are the three big properties of a stack. It's flow direction, gap, and alignment. And let's take a look at that. So here we have a stack. It's a stack that defines stacks, kind of funny. And it has a vertical flow direction. We could change it to horizontal. Not as good. And then it has a top left alignment, and then it has a gap. So right now there's a large gap between each of the three children stacks here. So they will just flow down the page and keep this same structured pattern. Now, if we were to add something, it would pop right in the same structured sort of way. That's the cool thing about stacks. And yeah, that should sound pretty familiar. It's just like auto layout, right? So if you're used to that, great. If not, I'll walk you through it. So first big question around using stacks and kind of designing with these constraints in mind is, how do you get an element to the right side of the page? Like in Figma, you would just drag it over and put it there. And because everything is absolutely positioned by default in Figma, it would just work. But the web isn't built that way. If everything was absolutely positioned on the web, nothing would be responsive. Layouts would be breaking all over the place. That's just not how software is built. Software is built with stacks and these flow constraints. So how do we get something to the other side of the page? We have two options. One is we've got our stack, and you can set the gap of a stack to fill. So if there's only two elements in the stack, this works pretty well. So here we've got our button, and then we've got a stack with an icon button over here. So the gap between that stack and the button is set to fill. And that works pretty well. A little brittle because, if you were to add another element in here, it would then be in the center of this thing instead of stuck to one of the sides that you would want it to be, which is why this is typically the preferred method. So here we have our stack, and inside it we've got, the stack with the icon in it and then the button. And what we did was we actually didn't change the gap at all. It was set to medium the whole time. But what we did was we grew one of the peer stacks to push the button over. So this stack here is set to fill its width, and that fill is what's pushing the button over. So if you need to move stuff around, try growing its peers or changing the gap. Next, how do we align things? So, a lot of designers, without understanding the stack model, they will come in and they will see, this thing here, and they're going to say, I need this to go left. So they'll select it, and then they'll go, wait, I thought it should be left. But what this is doing is actually aligning its children. So remember, a stack, its alignment and all of its settings apply to the children. So everything in layout here says this is how the children of this stack will behave. So to set this over to the left and these over to the left, we would actually choose the parent here. And we would say, let's align you to the left. And then that scoots everything over. So remember, if something isn't lining up the way you want it to, go up to its parent and set the alignment there. Okay, lastly, how do you get used to working in these constraints? It is a little different. It's if you're used to just throwing stuff on the page and drawing pretty pictures and throwing it over the fence to engineering, this is a little bit of a learning curve, but we've made it pretty easy with a few key features to really stay in flow in the design mindset rather than getting kind of like stuck in the stack world. And what I mean by that is you're still going to be building in stacks. It's just the UX makes it super simple to do that. So for instance, here, let's try it out. Let's see if we can add a share button over here. And to do that, we're going to need to use all of the techniques we just talked about. So what we need to do is we need to add our share button in somewhere, right? So we'll show you the harder way first. We can go over here. We can say insert, and then we can say, we're looking for that icon button. And I can grab my icon button and I can drag it in over here, but it would only drop in flow, right? So then I would have to group this together and then set it to horizontal, set it to fill, and then set this one to grow, here to fill. And maybe we would want this to be, centered. So the button is centered now. So that's one way to do it. And it's not the most efficient path, but it works. And that's probably where most of you are going to start. That being said, I find it much easier to just stay in flow. And what I mean by that is we'll just undo a bunch of this stuff. And you'll notice I can even actually just turn the layout off here and still use it and just kind of really be in my design. And that's one of the things I love most about Subframe is I can just really immerse myself in what I'm designing. And so here, we know we want to add our icon button over here. And notice these little plus buttons that pop up when you have an item selected. So we can insert something to the right of it. And what that will do is it will wrap this item and what we added in another stack. So we can go icon, button, and it wraps it in a stack for me, right? And then I can go, let's go width set to fill. Great. And width set to fill again. There we are. Cool. Now I've got my button over here. We can just ask AI for this one. Make it a share icon. There we go. Share icon. I tend to like, the other share icon. So in this case, we could probably show our UI again and, come over here and rather than share to, we go just our normal share. There we go. There it is. Staying in flow is super, super easy in Subframe because of that contextual menu on any selected element. So, say we wanted to maybe say that we did it. We could be like, cool, add some text. Yay, we did it. Next episode, we'll be talking about basically the way to take all of what we just learned there and build a real layout with it. So, stay tuned. Coming soon is a full-on layout tutorial for Subframe. Peace out, y'all.